Tonight was the night that the new Star Wars Disney Plus show, the first one since Obi-Wan, premiered on the network, and that would be Andor, a show that's been talked about for a very long time and one that I really did not have much interest in. Andor is based on Cassian Andor, one of the lead characters from the Star Wars Rogue One film. And when I saw the Rogue One movie, and then later, years later, I heard they were doing an Andor prequel, didn't really understand what the point was, because I felt like I got enough of the character in Rogue One. I understood the character in Rogue One. Maybe he does have a good backstory, but to me, I was kind of wondering why they were going in this direction, why they were going to do a series on Andor. You know, he's not really a character that I think most people would want a series on. In fact, I can vividly remember that a lot of Star Wars fans preferred an Obi-Wan series, which we got earlier this year, versus just Andor, a character we didn't spend much time with. But tonight, the Andor series premiered on Disney Plus, and I've been making jokes about it with my friends, but I want it to be fair, and I want to give it a genuine view to see if I'm going to like it. And what Disney Plus did is they decided to premiere 3 episodes back to back on the same night. So right now on Disney Plus, the first 3 episodes of Andor are out. And the episodes range from like 40-some minutes to like 30-something minutes. They're definitely under an hour. So what did I think about this show? It just did not connect with me. I want to let everybody know it is my opinion. If you like this show, I would love to hear your comments about what you liked about it. I only saw the first 2 episodes. I didn't go to the 3rd episode because I'm just not into it. This show bored me. I think Diego Luna is a charismatic actor. I do sort of am intrigued at the storyline of him trying to find his sister. But this show, I will give them credit for this. The show tried to do something a bit different in that it's not like the other Star Wars shows where they constantly hit you with member berries and nostalgia. It didn't really try to do that, mostly because Rogue One's not that old of a film, so you're not going to have that kind of nostalgia like you would for the prequels or even the original trilogy. There isn't much in this, Star Wars show that really is Star Wars. There's droids and characters, and it's kind of a show that sort of takes place in the underground, not really like the Empire or planets, it's not really a war going on. It's 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, which means it's 5 years before Star Wars A New Hope. And it centers around Andor and these characters that I honestly did not give a damn about. I don't care. I'm sorry, I tried. I watched the show. It just did not hook me. In some ways, and this is going to sound weird, but try to understand where I'm coming from. In some ways, they may have gone a little bit too far with this show as far as distancing itself from what Star Wars is. There's one side of this spectrum where you have constant nostalgia, constant, throwbacks, homages, or even straight up copies of stuff we've seen previously in Star Wars. The sequel trilogy had a lot of that. Even The Mandalorian, even though it told a great story and had great characters, that's what made Mandalorian so good, is that we love those characters. Baby Yoda is derivative of Yoda. Mandalorian is derivative of Boba Fett. These are elements we saw in the original trilogy that are sort of being repackaged. With this show, there's none of that, and I think that might actually be a bit of a detriment. I think it's one thing if you want to overdo the nostalgia, like what Rogue One the movie actually did. It's something else, which, by the way, I'm not crapping on the movie. Like the movie, the characters weren't a big deal to me, but the finale was great. But and I reviewed that years ago. But with this show, I think they may have gone too far in the other direction to where it doesn't really feel like Star Wars. The music does not feel like it's Star Wars-esque. It doesn't have that, and obviously it's not John Williams, but it doesn't have that John Williams kind of style to it. The way it's shot, it really feels like something in a different world. It actually, in some ways, felt more like a Star Trek show, just based on how the story's going. But dude, I sat here and I tried, and like I said, Diego Luna does have charisma, but the show just did not hook me. I'm not really entirely sure what direction they're going in. They did not establish the antagonist yet, and this could be why they released 3 episodes. Maybe they do all of that in the 3rd episode, which there might not even be an antagonist. It could just be Diego Luna's Cassian Andor trying to find his sister and meeting different characters along the way, which I'm fine with. But honestly, with this, it just I hate saying it because I was told, they worked hard on this, and I'm sure they did, but it just didn't capture me, yo. And so I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I'm probably not gonna review this show. I'm probably not gonna watch it. If I hear something, if I hear a rumbling, if I hear like, hey, something big's gonna happen on the show or an interesting story, I'll watch it. But it's not even just the lack of nostalgia, it's just that the lack of having an interesting character. It's just not interesting to me. And I will say that this has nothing to do with the fact that we know what happens to the character. He dies in Rogue One. Everybody knows that. I mean, we know that Obi-Wan eventually dies, and Yoda, and Anakin. It doesn't mean that the stories that they told us after we saw them depicted dying on screen were unnecessary. We saw Luke Skywalker die in The Last Jedi, unfortunately, and yet when he popped up at the Season 2 Mandalorian finale, everybody loved it. So it's not really a situation about that. It's just that, granted, I know that the show's going to end up being this sort of spy thriller, but with this first episode, it just didn't do anything to connect with me. Toby Haynes directed it. Tony Gilroy wrote it. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this show is going to have 12 episodes, and I just don't see myself. I'm not going to watch it. I mean, I'm just not going to watch it. It didn't connect with me. It bored me, and I'm not going to waste my time. There's so many other shows. I have to watch Rings of Power, which I haven't tried yet. I heard mixed opinions on that. I'm still watching She-Hulk. I'm still doing the Godzilla marathon. I'm not against like watching shows, but this one, I just genuinely don't care. Do y'all agree with me? If you don't, that's okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you liked about this show. Maybe I missed something. But just the characters and the pacing just don't work for me. But let me know if you like this show and why, because I am genuinely curious about that. And if you agree with me, let me know as well. I think this show's been a long time coming. I remember hearing about this in 2019 or something like that, and I heard about Andor before. I'm sure most of us did. Heard about Andor before Kenobi, really. And so it's been in the works for quite some time, and I was skeptical, but I thought, okay, well, maybe it's going to matter. Maybe it'll mean something. Maybe they'll give us a good story. Maybe they'll entertain us. It just doesn't really do it. It just doesn't really do it. I mean, obviously, we know based on the trailers that he's going to meet Saw Gerrera and join the rebellion at some point. But right now, these first 2 episodes, I didn't see the third one. The first 2 just did not hook me. Those are my thoughts. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.